Man, look at it. Look at the time. We're never going to make this round today.
You know what? I think we gotta take a couple shortcuts today. What do you think? Since the other crew don't ever do nothing.
Maybe we should. Hey, the ship boss has already been in. He's not coming back today. Why don't we just skip a few of these bolts? We'll make it look good, but we'll get it done quick.
That's what I say. Since
make
we
some
all
money.
do all the work anyway, what's the other crew do? Nothing.
Nothing.
We're gonna let them pull a few extra bolts in, and we're gonna
They
get
never
back
do
the rest
squat.
of the day.
They don't do squat.
That's right.
Those two guys just made a very bad decision. They're setting the trap for themselves or for somebody else. We need to do some education and show them the importance of doing things right and doing things the way it's designed.
Oh, hey,
fellas.
Mike, how you doing, Mike?
I'm doing all right. Looks like you guys are having some problems.
What's that? Bolton looks good to me.
Looks like you're working a little harder than you need to work here. Also, looks like you're leaving some bolts out. Not a good decision at all.
Yeah, but it looks good enough.
We're running short on time. We got to get this round out.
You know, what do you think's more important, getting the round out or making things safe?
We don't get that round out, we don't make any money.
Cutting corners like that could get somebody killed.
Well, I thought it looked pretty good.
Wall looks pretty good to me, too.
This place has to be open for a long time, so we need to make sure there's plenty of good bolts in there. You guys are working plenty hard, but you're not getting enough done. Let's take a look at why in your workplace here, all right? Let's start with housekeeping. Your workplace is a horrible mess with everything laying around like it is right now. All these tripping hazards. You're going to get yourselves hurt.
Hey, you know, we got a round to make today. We'll just clean it up later.
That's not the point. The point is your own safety. Come on, I'm going to take you up and we're going to see some of the experts and see how they do it. Huh?
All right.
Let's go.
There are a lot of reasons for rock falls in mines. Rock is always loosened up by blasting. If you don't bar it down, it could fall out when you're under it. Stresses will reorient themselves around a mine opening. As the rocks relax, slabs will develop and could fall. Mining can cause more stress to build up in rocks than they can handle. In some rocks, this can cause rock bursts. Some rocks with clays will react to air and slack or fail. In hot mines, cool ventilation air can cool the rock enough to cause it to loosen up. Ground supports are used to support the rock, stabilize it, and make it safer for all of us to work. If you cut corners by leaving some supports out, you're putting us all in danger. There are a lot of ways to support the rock. Mines use supports to match the conditions. Some use a lot of wood timbers or steel sets. Many mines use sprayed concrete called shotcrete to control the rock from breaking up and falling off. The shotcrete prevents air slacking and supports the rock. Bolts are very common, often used with some kind of mesh or mats which help keep smaller rocks from falling out. Some mines have very few ground control problems, while for others, it takes a major effort to make them safe. Whatever system is used, it is designed around the individual mine. The primary purpose of all ground support is to keep you safe. How smart is it to cheat? Rock is much stronger when being compressed or in compression than it is when being pulled or in tension. When you blast around, the rock relaxes into the opening you just made. When the rock relaxes, it is no longer in compression, but is in tension from its own weight and the forces deeper in the rock. By installing bolts, you prevent this zone of tension from developing. Some bolting methods, like point anchor bolts and grouted bolts with plates, are called active support because they put the rocks around the opening back into compression. Other bolts, like grouted cable bolts and grouted bolts without plates, are called passive support because they prevent additional relaxation from happening. Each bolt creates a zone of compressed rock around it. The bolting pattern designed for the mine allows these zones of compression to overlap and create a solid structure around the opening. So you can see that leaving out bolts in the minimum pattern can create a very dangerous condition. Additional bolts may need to be added to tighten wire around rock or to add support to faults or joints in the rock. This is where your experience and judgment become important. Remember, you are putting these bolts in to protect yourselves and any miner that comes into this workplace. No matter what kind of supports you are putting in, You need to make sure your heading is safe before you start. That means barring down the loose rock. There are a few key things to remember when you are scaling. Staying under safe ground at all times. Make sure you have a good footing so that you can get out of the way of falling rock if you need to. Use the right length bar for the job. And use the bar to pry up on the rock, not down. Bolts are the most common type of support used in the mines. You sure can't install them if you can't run a drill. Larry here can give you some good tips on running a jackleg. He's one of the best jackleg operators around. Hey Larry, how's it going?
Hi, Mike.
I got a couple of guys here who are having trouble running their jackleg and putting in bolts. Can you give them some good tips?
Well, probably the easiest thing is you got to let your jackleg do the work for you to start off with. You want to make sure your ground's barred down good. Check your ground. You'll be able to tell how many bolts you need usually by just looking at the ground. By the time you bar it down, you're going to know how bad it is. So you want to make sure you got your machine and leg in line with your ground so you're drilling straight in. This leg is here for a reason, so hold this machine up. Let it do the work for you. If you get it in line and balance your machine, it takes all the work out of running the machine. It balances the machine. So you want to get it in line and get it up close enough to where it balances itself so you're not fighting. You don't want your leg way out here where you got to try to fight to get up there and get a hole collar. Put your leg up where it balances itself. You're ready to collar, you're ready to drill. Make sure you're drilling with the same bedding as the ground. You don't want to have your bolt going on a 45 when your ground's straight up and down. You drill your bolt at a 45, then you've only got part of the head that's supporting the ground. So if it takes any squeeze, it's going to pop that part of the head off. So you want all the bolts to be flush. If your bolt is flush, it's going to hold more ground, it's going to take more support. You have to work under it every day. You want to make sure it's in right. Probably the best way for me is to show you to put a few bolts in and show you how to do it.
Of course, jacklegs aren't the only drills around. Mines which drive larger openings often have jumbos. Here's Jerry with a bolting jumbo. Hey Jerry, do you have any advice for these guys?
Well, to me, I think it's pretty important that the place is pretty clean to start with. Coming into a heading, the first thing I do is take a scaling bar and come through, and if there's anything loose on the ribs or even the back, whatever we need to get down, we'll get that down first. And this you can see the back's already bolted with the mats. And we come in with a cable bolt drill here and drill a little bit deeper with the holes. The main thing is just keep everything, I like keeping everything clean and just always have a way out, you know. The best thing to remember that I remember is nobody loves me like I do. You got to take care of yourself, you know. When you come in, just make sure everything is, there's nothing loose. You just got to really watch out for yourself more than anything. I make sure that it's done right, I really do. 'cause it's me that's down here that's underneath this, you know. And I watch it pretty much all the time, and if there's any kind of movement whatsoever, I'll shut the machine off. The machine is pretty noisy, so it's hard to hear. So it's mostly by sight. You gotta really just keep watching everything real close and just take care of number one, so you can go home with that.
Thanks, Bud. Appreciate it. Drill jumbles are a little different, but still a big piece of equipment. Francis is running one. Let's see what's going on. Hey, Francis.
Oh, Mike.
How's it going? Could you explain to these new guys how you handle bad conditions like this?
As you can see, we got a rock bolter, and it's pretty safe in that you get to stay way back behind your bolted ground already. And so you don't have to get right out underneath it like you have to with the jack leg. And we've got some pretty muddy ground here, a lot of slips in it. As you can see, we've got a real tight pattern up here where usually we only have 4 mats in the back. We've got 7 across here. And we're coming clear down the rib where we only have 1 a lot of times on most of the drifts. I don't know if you saw me bolting or not before, but it's real muddy. You got to kind of feed it in real slow, or you plug up quite a bit, and you got to have the right size bit on. We're using a real small, worn out bit in here. Otherwise, the bolt just pulls back out with the driver.
What do you do to get started?
Well, first you got to come in and make sure that there's no mist holes, like powder in them or anything, and kind of wash the face down, look it over pretty good, and make sure there's no loose ground in the bolted area at least. I wouldn't get out underneath the stuff that's not bolted though.
So what's the bottom line, Francis?
The bottom line is you want to make sure your ground is supported and that you're safe, and that, as I say, you got to keep a clean heading because you want to. You might have to run out of here, and your best bet is to make sure you know where you're going, and keep an eye on all your stuff because you want to get home at night.
Whether you're running a jackleg or a jumbo, the vibration of the drill will loosen up the rock, so keep your eyes open. Any machine is no substitute for a scaling bar. Don't forget to bar down. The bolting pattern is designed as a minimum. If you don't think it's safe, talk it over with your supervisor or add more bolts. There are several types of bolts you might use. Each has its own strength. Most bolts use a metal plate on the bottom, and some mines add a piece of wood, often a piece of plywood, to help spread out the support from the bolt. Point anchor bolts used to be pretty common. Other types are used more now, but you'll still see these around. Mark and Paul can show you what they do.
Hello, Paul. Hello, Mark. How you doing? Pretty good.
Pretty good.
What are you up to? Oh, I just gonna bring a couple of guys around here and show them around. These guys have been having some troubles down below where they've been bolting up some areas. They've had some bad ground, and they're learning how to bolt.
Okay. So show them the ropes.
Show them the ropes. Yeah, we need to educate as many of our guys as we can on as many types of ground support methods as we have.
Okay. We're just using mechanicals in here today because we're going to reblast this, and they're only 4 foot long. We're going to go up another 6 feet, so we're just putting in some temporary bolts, but they're all mechanicals like these.
Okay. And how do those work?
What we're doing is drilling a 4 foot hole in the back here and in the walls, and then we're putting these rock bolts in, and they've got a expanding anchor. As it tightens up, it swells up and anchors this bolt at the very end of the hole and sucks that hole board right on up tight, and we suck them up to where about 100 foot-pounds of torque on them. Supports the ground.
What is it that you can do wrong when you're putting these bolts in?
Well, the number one thing you got to do is bar down, make sure it's safe where you're working, and then I'd say about the second most important thing is make sure you got the right size bits on your last. So it's tight in here, so we're drilling with a 2 and a 4 foot. We make sure we've got an 1 3/8 bit on our 4 foot steel, and that way it fits the hole real tight, and these anchors will be solid and won't slip.
So if you drill with too big of a bit at the end of the hole, that anchor won't.
Yeah,
set in the hole, right?
This spreads like that, and then this anchor can slide right on by, and you haven't got anything. It looks like you got something, but it won't take any weight. It'll fall right out.
What happens if you drill the hole too short?
Too short, then you can't even get your bolt tight. Then your board's just flop, your bowl will be tight, but it's not supporting anything. It doesn't let that head and that plate, doesn't let this part suck up tight and put pressure against the back. So you're not really doing anything. You just wasted your time and effort.
Now guys, these bolts require a good solid anchor on the end, and to give some pressure right against the rock face like you see up here. See how that board's right there? That's pushing up against the rock, so it's helping support this whole ground. And so a good anchorage for this bolt, for this right here, is really important.
That's the key to the whole thing right there. If that doesn't hold, nothing else will.
How do you check, make sure these things are working? If you've got them put in tight enough?
Well, usually you can tell by the sound of the machine that they're tight, but we're required to torque them with a torque wrench. Got just a regular old mechanical torque wrench. We put this on, where's our driver at?
Right here.
You have to torque the first one you put in, every 10th one, and the last one. We'll put them on a bolt like this, get them on there, put your torque wrench on it. You got her? And pull her down and watch your, that one's 105.
So that's plenty tight then.
Yeah.
And that's supplying that much force against the back there to hold the rocks up.
Yeah, it ensures that it's tight, that you have continuity all the way from the board all the way to the anchor in the back.
Paul, what do you have to add to what Mark's already said?
Well, I like to make sure my all my ground is supported good. I get enough bolts in. Don't want to short myself. Never know when a slab could come out of the back. Make sure you get everything bolted up real good. Keep a good clean work area. You don't want to be tripping over things if your slab's coming down. You're trying to get out of the way.
So you want to keep your hoses back out of the way. Make sure you don't have your bolts in the way.
Yeah, keep your bolts out of the way. Your boards. Yeah.
And you want to make sure you scale down well before you.
Right.
Before and while you're drilling and putting bolts in.
Right.
Too,
Always bar down while you're bolting. Before and while you're bolting.
These bolts are good when you have a solid layer of rock to bolt into. Basically, they fasten weaker layers of rock together to make a stronger section. Friction bolts are better when the ground is more broken up. There are several kinds of friction bolts, but the ones you'll see here are made of spring steel and are designed to be pushed into a smaller hole. They expand and push out on the sides of the hole and tie the rocks together. It looks like Johnny and Grizz are putting some in now.
Hello, John. Hello, Grizz.
Hi, Mike. You doing, Mike?
Yeah, guys, I got a couple of new hands here. I got Jeff and I got Jason here. They just started down below in that new working place, and they've been having some trouble bolting. Can you guys give them some pointers on how you do it and how you keep yourself safe and how you keep from getting yourself hurt?
Okay. Well, first thing we do is we like to have a good work area. Keep everything clean. Try to keep a good area to get through in case you have some type of fall of ground. We first come in after the blast. We come in and wet down and bar down the back and both walls to make sure there's nothing loose before we go out underneath it. And we'll check for miss holes, and then we get ready to start wetting down and start mucking down to bolting height. Usually, sometimes if you got a high back, we just ramp the muck down with a loader. That way you keep yourself close to your back so it's not so far to bolt. In this case, it's low back, so we pretty much have it all mucked out.
What should you guys have in your working area to get your work done safely?
Now you gotta have a scaling bar to start off with, so you make sure when you come in you can bar down right away. You always want to have your water hose handy so you can wet down and get rid of all the dust. Now, when you're bolting or anything, you always want to make sure you wear your safety glasses. It's an important part. What happens now is we got the wire laid out. We're going to drill some holes in the back for some friction bolts, and then we're going to hang the wire with a machine. And then we'll put in some 6-foot resin bolts just for better ground support. Sometimes we have standards that you have to follow. You have to have certain lengths of bolts, like in the walls you're required to have 4 footers. In the back you have 3-foot friction bolts with 6-foot resin bolts. Sometimes the ground, you have to be the judge on what you feel safe. So you might have to put in longer bolts, and that's what it takes.
What do you look for to know when you need to have some different bolts or more bolts?
More, you want to make sure your wire's tight. You don't want to have any loose wire anywhere, because a lot of times the rock, after a couple blasts farther ahead, will loosen up the ground and you'll have bags of rock hanging in the wire. So you want to make sure the wire's tight.
Also when you're looking at the back, as you can see here, the back looks pretty solid. But you can tell when you start seeing faults and seams, then you want to be real careful. You might even consider a longer bolt. That's one instance where you might consider longer bolts when you can start seeing those faults. You know, but that comes with experience.
Real good, guys. You want to show these guys what you're doing? We'll go ahead and step back out of the way and watch you do it.
All right.
Okay.
Grouted bolts are used when you need more strength and need to support ground along the full length of the bolt. The grout can be resin or cement, as John and Grizz are using. When you are installing resin grouted bolts, it is important not to drill the hole too deep. If you do, the resin will be pushed up into the hole and there won't be enough grout around the bolt. You can spin a resin grouted bolt too much. It only needs to be spun long enough to mix the 2 parts together. Then let the bolt sit for a little while to allow the resin to harden. After the setup time has passed, the bolt should not spin. If it does, then the bolt won't be supporting anything. Be sure you know the specifications of the resin or cement grout you are using. If in doubt, ask your supervisor. Looks like Mark has some ground that is breaking into small pieces. He's using wire mesh to help hold it. It's real common to see mesh and bolts used together if the ground breaks like this. It's also fairly common to mix resin and friction bolts the way he's doing. Hey Mark, I've got some new guys here. Can you explain what you're doing?
What I've done is I've hung my wire off the existing resin bolts to get it started. From here on, what I'll do is every other bolt will be one will be a resin bolt, one will be a friction bolt. And we'll go like that about every 2 feet or where it needs it.
How do you determine where it needs it?
Well, I kind of look for the holes and the valleys. I put them up in there. It sucks that wire tight around the bellies. Works real good that way. I think the wire is probably a good idea. It catches all the loose, it falls. Whereas with a mat, it could fall around it, whatever. This way it keeps it up there. Well, the way I determine how many bolts to put in is I'll look at this and I'll think, well, I know it's going to take 25 to 30 bolts, but I'll put them where it's needed, not just in just a plain row or anything like this. If there's a hole or another belly that needs it, I'll put in extra bolts. Just whatever it takes to make it safe. The more perpendicular you get these bolts with the ground, the more ground you're going to hold. Whereas if you angle them out frontwards or whatever, you're not going to be holding the ground right. This way, I think, is okay. You can make an arc with them. And I think that works real well. But I think as far as leaning them out forward, the less you can do that, the better.
This chain link wire isn't the only kind of mesh used. You could see plastic, which won't rust out, but sometimes doesn't provide as much support as wire. Or you could see welded wire panels used. Joey here is putting in some of these. Lots of mines use metal mats for additional support. Rick here is putting some of these in.
Can't hardly overbolt. The more you put in, the safer it's going to be.
When you're bolting, Rick, how important is it to get your bolts in at right angles to the rib and so on?
Well, it's all the difference in the world. They got to be absolutely perpendicular to get the full length of the bolt to stabilize the ground.
That's real important to get the bolts all the way in so that they're not at an angle so you can get the full depth. Is that right?
Yep. There's no use using a 4-foot bolt and only getting a 3 foot in there.
Sure.
So it may be a situation where you go in and the ground is so bad, you might want to get on the horn, call Miner Mike, say, come here, we need to discuss this. We might have to timber it. We might have to put wire mesh up. There's a million different things. You know, you just got to look it over, figure it out, and do it right.
Well, a lot of it's your own judgment, but you need to discuss things with your supervisor as well, eh?
Well, the supervisor's good for a few things. A couple of them is advice. Usually they're supervisors because they've been around and they know the ropes, and their advice helps you out. But mainly it's your call. You're down here in your stope, and you got to make it safe for you. You're not making it safe for your boss or nothing. You're making it safe for you, so you can advance the stope, make some money, go home safe.
That's right. Hey, tell Jeff and Jason here the sequence you're going to use is you're going to bolt your way up to the face.
Okay. Once you bar it down through the whole stope, once you come into your stope, you bar it all down, look it all over. Then you go to your last area that's supported, and you start your bolt. The company's usually going to have a standard bolting pattern, which is basically a recommendation in a perfect world. Rarely you have a perfect world, so you pretty much got to ad-lib where you're going to put your bolts. If you got a boulder over here, focus on that. Might want 2 or 3 bolts in it. Then come back on a better spot, start spacing your bolts out to a normal pattern, whatever it takes. You just got to be safe, work your way to the face little by little. You got to bar down a little bit, bolt a little bit. Just work your way slowly, carefully, and safely. Make your way to the face, then the back's done, then you start on the ribs.
Grouted cable bolts are being used more and more. There's a real art to installing them right, but we'll probably have to talk about these all by themselves later. You can see Dan and Spike putting some in here. You'll need some additional training when you're assigned to install these. You guys met some good miners today. You've learned about many of the common types of ground supports. We've gotten tips on how to run common drills like jacklegs and jumbos. We've seen timbers, shotcrete, point anchor bolts, friction bolts, grouted bolts, wire mesh, welded wire panels, metal mats, and grouted cable bolts. These supports are considered permanent. They sure won't last forever. Supports that are broken or damaged do no good. You think you're safe, but they aren't holding anything up. Here's what to watch for. Bolts that are hanging loose. The anchor has failed or the ground around the collar has fallen away. Bolts or mesh that are rusted out. They can come loose if you bump them. Broken heads. That means the bolt isn't attached anymore. Bolts that have pulled through the plates. This shows the area is taking a lot of weight. If you mess around with it, it's going to fall on you and kill you, and you're going to die. Mesh or mats that are torn or damaged. Bagged wire that's holding a lot of broken rock and could fail if you rip into it with your loader. Shotcrete that's cracked or broken away from the ground. Look out for broken rock on the floor. This means the supports are failing. Any of these can be dangerous. If you see signs of failing ground support and you have the training and tools, you need to fix it. Otherwise, put up warning signs and report it to your supervisor.
Yeah, Mike, we've learned a lot today. I never knew how important the ground supports really were. I was always focused on getting the round out.
Yeah, Mike, it's stupid for us to cut corners like this. Thanks for coming down and lining us out today.
People go home safe because they're smart enough to do things right. You guys have a lot to learn, but you're going to be good hands. There's a lot of good people around here to learn from. Don't be afraid to ask them. They're eager to help you learn too. Remember, everybody wants you to go home safe.
Thanks, Mike. I want to go home safe too. We're not going to make the round today, but we learned something more important. We learned how to do it right. Let's go get to work.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
We almost screwed up today. I
Yeah.
think Mike came along when he did. We didn't get the job done, but at least we know how to do it right now.
That's right.
All right, those guys are going to be good hands.